Here we are back at Virtue Honda on Lenton Lane in Nottingham, and this morning we are doing a dual vlog review of the new Honda CB750 Hornet versus the CB650R. The CB650R, which we use for our training school as the approved school of motorcycling with Honda. And we've had these for a good couple of years now and we love them. And now that they've brought out the Honda 750, we love that too. So we decided we would review the two bikes, compare them. They're very different bikes, and we'll tell you what we think, both from an instructor's perspective and from a leisure rider's perspective as well. We're out having some fun on these bikes today. So your CB650R is an inline 4 and the Hornet is a twin. The characteristics of the bikes are very different and they do make for a different riding experience, but both of which are very enjoyable. It just is going to depend on your preference as to which bike you prefer or you'd like to ride long term. I was reading a couple of reviews on this bike last night on, I can't remember, some of the bigger websites.
The 650R?
Yeah, they were saying it wasn't particularly nimble or flickable in the bends and the corners. I think it is.
Well, maybe they just got off an R1.
Maybe.
So we've just pulled in at the petrol station because I like to do smooth gear changes with preloading, and it's got the quick shifter on. So I've turned that off. What else have I turned off, Leanna? All self-cancelling indicators. Yep. If you're on a big fast dual carriageway road and you want to turn right at a big roundabout or something, the chances are these will turn themselves off before you get to the roundabout. Those aids are off now. I'm in sport mode, and you've got the P, the EB and the T. T is traction control.
P is power, EB is electronic braking. The electronic braking is your engine braking. It's the amount that it delivers engine braking. The modes are preset, so it's 3 different preset engine braking amounts as the same for your power and your traction control within those modes.
You were saying that the bars on these are a lot narrower than they are on the 650.
Definitely looks a lot narrower. I reckon that's why it's so nimble. That's definitely more nimble than the 650R.
Really is nice as well for slow speed. Just take it round in a bit of a U-turn. Just show you what the balance is like on it. Got a really nice balance to it. I'm really happy with it. Okay, so shall we go for a play? As I said before, the only thing I'd like on this is I'd love there to be a cruise control, but you wouldn't necessarily expect that at this sort of price range. But the fuel mapping at 28, 29, 30, I'm happy with that. That's really nice.
Don't even notice the fuel injection mapping on the 650R. It's so smooth in any gear at any point.
And it pulls nicely in any gear as well, doesn't it?
It does. I always think this bike makes you think you're going faster than you are because it's quite noisy. So if you're using second gear, for example, to get up to speed, you really do need to make quite a lot of noise to get there. But it does get up to speed quite nicely. It just feels like you're riding a little bit like a hooligan.
Just short shifted 2 gears there, first to third. I just love how light the gearboxes are on both these bikes. Now, this doesn't have heated grips either, does it?
No.
It drops into corners beautifully. It's so quick handling.
You see, I find the 650R very easy to ride in the bends, but I'll be interested to jump from this one onto that one for a direct comparison. I really do like the CB650R, and there's a really good reason we use it as a training bike. Some people have said the seat's too firm. I actually find the seat's really comfortable. I found that the Hornet seat felt harder to me when I sat on it, but it's to do with your bottom adjusting to the seat that you're sitting on most of the time, I think. The roll on and the roll off on the throttle on this is lovely and smooth, provided you're smooth with it. I have seen a couple of students ride them slightly aggressively, and if you are aggressive with it, it will lurch and lunge a little bit, but if you're smooth with it, it's lovely. I feel that it is nimble for your roundabouts and your bends. It's quite easy to change direction.
Yeah, as is this. I wonder if they're using a similar geometry, because this really does flick around like a 125.
Suspension's great. It's not too firm, it's not too soft on these 650Rs, it's very smooth. It doesn't put the bike out of shape, particularly compared to the MT-07s, which are a little bit harsh. It's quite easy to hit neutral on the CB650Rs if you don't preload. If you do preload, you'll very rarely hit neutral. Neutral feels like a massive void in between first and second on this bike.
Yeah, where it doesn't on the Hornet.
No.
Well, I'm in 4th at 38. You can just feel a bit of vibration through the pegs and the bars, but it's more than acceptable.
I'm in 6 at 39 and there's no vibration. Maybe the tiniest little buzz in the handlebars, but only very slight.
It went out of shape a little bit there over the bumps.
Yeah, this one didn't. There's definitely a difference between the suspension. I think the 650R is a bit more planted than that one, than the Hornet.
Yeah, this suspension's just a little bit firm. I did notice it wasn't too happy then. Yeah, it's a little bit bone shaky at the moment.
This just rode that bump fine.
I purposely went over the manhole covers at this speed for that reason.
Yep.
And that wasn't brilliant.
Is your spine a bit shorter now?
Yeah, I'm now 5'6".
Yeah. See, if there's any bike that I want to go over bumps on, it's this one.
Yeah.
I'm quite happy going over the bumps on this because it's so nicely balanced. There's certain things I don't like about this bike, but I think that's because I don't like inline fours particularly. I don't think it's this bike, I just think that I don't like high revving bikes.
Yeah.
I'd like to be able to get up to speed without hearing it go in my ear holes.
That's the thing about the fours, you feel like you're over revving them, especially when it pulls as well as that does in the higher gears.
But I do really enjoy riding these. They're so easy to ride, yet enjoyable at the same time. It's not like it's easy and boring. You can have a really fun ride on it, or you can have a really easy, relaxed ride on it.
Just going to have a look at the suspension.
Okie dokie.
Yeah, it looks like it's only got the basic suspension on it, the basic spring adjuster, and that's it. And again, I suppose if it had shower and stuff, it'd be another 500 quid.
So the most mod cons you get on the CB650R is traction control and ABS. There's no rider modes, there's no snazzy self-cancelling indicators. It's a nice basic bike, but a basic bike that rides very, very nicely. I like the fact that it has the standard switch gear with the indicator button below the horn with a lovely big horn button.
Yeah, this is quite cluttered, is probably the best way to describe it.
I think it's because you've got all those extra buttons though. You've got your modes.
Well, the horn's tiny,
Yeah.
the horn button, but at least it's accessible.
Yeah, I like these big buttons because it's so easy to feel it and to know your thumbs on it rather than trying to find it or have to look at it. It's interesting though, because if you say that's got just sort of a standard suspension on it, so the Hornet has, I don't think this has anything more special than your standard suspension on the rear.
It's obviously just damped softer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because this is feeling quite harsh over these bumps.
If anything, I'd say the front on this is a little harsher than the rear. You certainly need to be a fan of block changing on this bike.
Yes, you certainly use the gears more on yours than we do on this one.
Yeah. It's quite nice to get up into the top gear and just stay there, but then obviously when you're slowing down you've got to bring yourself down through all those gears. On the Honda CB650R, the wind blast is very comfortable. Can't really feel much at all.
Yeah, it feels quite nice on this as well, the wind blast. Very smooth. You certainly can feel that you're getting more out of this. You don't have to change gears too often.
Yeah.
But the 650 seems to moan. Even though it's not high revs, it makes you think it is.
For me it's just that it tends to be smoother in the higher gears. If you're in the lower gears at the lower speeds, it tends to be more on and off with the throttle. Whereas if you get yourself into the higher gears, it's just smooth to roll on and roll off. However, you then don't have much engine braking, so if you're slowing yourself down, you do need to bring yourself down through the gears or significantly use the brakes to take that speed off. It doesn't have as much engine braking as I like, but that's because I prefer twin engines. I think maybe if I could make this bike quiet, I might enjoy it more.
Yeah.
I think I don't enjoy the noisiness of it when I'm accelerating.
Yeah, you feel like you're achieving more than you actually are.
I don't feel like I'm achieving more than I am. I feel like I'm not achieving as much as the noise is making, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like it's noisier than it is fast. Oops, I went to 7th gear.
Well, I'm still in 5th. Left is very good, right is very good. Does have a nice sound to it. So I'm just going to stay in 4th because that's taking me up a hill.
I'll just stay in 6th, it will still manage it perfectly well.
Weird, isn't it?
Squeeze these brakes quite hard to get maximum braking out of them when you're coming up to a junction like that quite quickly.
Yes. So now I'm on an openy straighty type thing, I can bang it into 5th, no problem. It's not as happy as the CB650 in 6 at this speed, so it likes 5th at 50.
I think in summary on the 650R, around town it's a doddle to ride. In the countryside you have to work it quite hard to get where you want to go, but you can have some fun with it if that's the kind of fun you like to have. Does that make sense?
Yes. That tickled my feet though. But, ooh.
I think this one definitely wins the rev bombing. I do like the auto assist clutches.
Yeah, this doesn't have it.
Other things I like about the CB650R are the mirrors. I love the standard Honda mirrors. I've said this before, but I still love them.
My arms are in the way on these a little bit. Half of the mirrors are being obscured.
I wonder if that's because the handlebars are narrower.
Yeah, that would make sense, you clever lady.
Because we tend to find that with the students, the bigger students are better off on the CB650s compared to the MT-07s, for example. And it's the same thing. It's not just the shape of the mirrors, but it's the width of the handlebars. It's very, very smooth with the wind on this bike. There's no wind blast on my head or shoulders at all.
Ah, so that's the L plate.
Yeah, we need to take the L plate off and see what it's like.
Yes. Debris in the middle.
Yeah, I've already seen it, thank you, but well done. Oh, it's quite a new one. We'll have that.
Yeah, shall we have that? Right, going back for the brush.
Freebie Lane. Maybe that's where the brush came from. Okay, I'm going to try and pretend it's not making any noise, and I'm just going to enjoy the acceleration instead.
Yes.
What a nice road. Even these bumps, this is dealing with really well.
Yeah, this is dealing with these bumps okay. It's a little harsh.
It's a little boingy for me.
Okay. Mine's on the jolty side.
No, this is boingy, it's quite nice. I think I prefer my suspension a little softer. I can see what they mean about it being not quite as nimble at the higher speeds.
Yeah?
Sometimes if you're doing a left bend followed by a right bend or a right followed by a left, it is a little bit lazy to get into the second bend.
Okay.
You're kind of waiting a little bit after your input for it to move over.
So it feels heavy then?
Yeah, a little bit. At the higher speeds, when at the lower speeds you don't notice it at all.
Just doing a swap now, everybody. So Leona's going to be taking the lovely Hornet with the SC Project exhaust, and I'm going to be on the lovely CB650R that we use for training.
Beautiful bikes.
Yes.
The learners certainly love them, don't they?
Yeah. You do feel the weight when you're pushing these though.
Yes.
The CB650R is a little bit heavier.
They're very different in their looks, aren't they, the Hornet versus the CB650?
Yeah, I think the Hornet looks a bit more aggressive.
Yeah, I think the 650 is more retro, isn't it?
Yes, I'd go with that. I do like the fact that even within the first few seconds of riding these, you feel like you've owned them for a while.
Yeah, it's lovely. We are good. A little bit of
Very
gravel
easy to get into. Obviously the 650R is a bit revier, isn't it?
Yeah, this is definitely a twin.
It'll be interesting to feel the suspension differences on these roads. Oh, straight away you can feel
I know.
the suspension on this R is so much smoother and softer.
Isn't it? I know. Yeah. This is definitely a bit more woof over the bumps.
It's definitely harsher.
Oh, I'll just stick the hazards on, shall I?
That's funny.
Oh, we didn't like that in third gear either. See, I'm so used to riding that one. You can do anything in third gear, fourth gear, and it will not argue with you. But this one is going to be a little bit different.
The suspension is immediately smoother on this bike.
Yeah,
You really can feel the difference.
it's massive, isn't it?
Massive difference. So I do think with the Hornet looking attackier, I think the suspension matches the attacky looks.
Yes, it's more aggressive. Lovely though.
Yeah, it is. It's really nice. It's definitely more fun. With the 650R, it just seems more refined. Yeah, it's really funny. I'm now in 6th gear at 54 on this, and it seems buzzy and happy.
I'm in 5th and it's fine.
Yeah, you see what I mean? It feels different, doesn't it? If you put yours in 6th now, it doesn't feel quite so happy. Where the Hornet likes 4th and 5th gears, where this just like 6.
This is fine in 6th, it's just you've got no pull in it. I don't know though. Just thought I'd give it a go.
I don't know though.
It's fine in 6th at 52, it's absolutely fine. I don't know, maybe you just feel more comfortable in 4th or whatever 5th. I'm quite happy in 6th at 50.
This one seems to hold its line a little better.
This is very flicky, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You use the tiniest input on the handlebars, it moves, whereas on that one it does take a little bit more to move it, which is probably why it's holding its line better. This feels more like a toy bike.
Yes. Yeah, it's like the teenage version of this.
Yeah. But they are two very different bikes.
Yes, they are.
You're not going to get refinement necessarily from a thumpy twin.
No. Yeah, the Hornet's definitely a happy puppy.
Which is quite fun to ride. Got a lot more grunt in the gears.
Yes, that's right. With this, I'm doing 53. I've just been going around all those corners in 6, and there's still plenty of pull.
Yeah.
And I'm already doing the speed limit.
But it's a different kind of pull.
Yes. Yeah, when I've got it in 4th or 5th at 50 miles an hour, I can feel more buzzing through the pegs on this one. That's probably why I prefer to have it in top gear. It's very buzzy.
I don't think it is very buzzy, isn't that weird?
Yes. Now I'm feeling the vibrations now at 4,500 revs. I'm feeling the buzziness through the bars and the seat.
Which is weird because to me, when you ride the CB650, or sorry, when I ride the CB650, I feel like it makes me want to ride more like a hooligan than this one does.
Really? I'm the other way around. Isn't that funny?
But I think I go back to it being the sound of the bike. The twin engine doesn't sound like a hooligan's bike to me.
Really?
It's not got a stupidly loud exhaust on it. I think it's just the revvy nature of it.
Well, the standard exhaust on this sounds fruity.
Yes, it's a nice exhaust. It's not offensively loud, but it is quite loud.
Race you to 60.
Definitely more wind blast on this one. It's only marginal, there's not much, but there's a little bit more than there is on the CB650.
The biggest thing I notice on these bumpy roads is the suspension.
Yes.
There's quite a lot of difference.
Yeah.
And the mirrors are better on this because of the wider bars.
Yeah, to me they're the same, but that's because I'm quite narrow.
Yeah.
So I'm quite happy with either. I like the riding position on the Hornet, but I also like the riding position on the CB650.
Yes, agreed. They're both really nice.
This is slightly more sporty with your feet a little bit higher up and further back, but the handlebars are in a good position. In fact, if anything, they're a little bit better on the Hornet for me, because I'm a little closer to the handlebars. On the 650 they're a tiny weeny bit far away, but not much. Not enough to make me worry about it.
There's a lot of roll on this one. It hasn't got the engine braking that the Hornet has, but then again that's because it's a 4.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. You really have to use those brakes as well. It's a bit lumpy on the throttle though. You're not smooth with the throttle, it is a little bit, whoops, I'm off again.
Yeah, it's because it's in sport mode. I was thinking that earlier on, you know.
Yeah.
If you wanted it to be smoother on the throttle, you could just knock it back into standard mode.
Yeah.
And I think it'd give you plenty of power. In fact, if you want to try that when you're on the next straight, just hit your mode button a few times to standard and close your throttle off. It's dead easy to change.
Yeah, we're in.
It's so quick and easy, isn't it? So just see how that feels on the delivery now.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you, it's very sharp on sport.
It just goes to show how you can get into bad habits when you ride bikes like the CB650R, because they're so easy to ride and they're so smooth that you get onto a bike that's then going to show up your bad habits.
Yeah, it's true.
takes a little bit of adjustment when you go from one to another.
Yes.
I feel like I'm sitting a little taller on this. I know it's not much taller, but I feel like I'm more upright.
Yeah, I think the seat to peg position as well, it's a bit sportier on the 650R. Seriously? 20?
Apparently so.
Ridiculous.
It's not very happy at 23 miles an hour in third gear. It's a bit on-y-off-y with the fuel. In standard it's going
Well, I'm now in third gear at 23. It's lovely. So maybe the fuel mapping on this one's slightly better than the Hornet.
Yeah, this one's not so happy at 22, 23 miles an hour in third gear. I'm not changing anything.
No.
It's effortless, isn't it, with its
Yeah.
handling?
Yep. I think the fueling is slightly better on this 650R.
It is. I'm trying to work out whether I want to be in third gear or fourth gear. I'm not enjoying third gear. I want to be in fourth.
And this is in fourth at 27, and it's taking it really nicely. It's not feeling like it's lugging. I don't think I want to be in fourth on the Hornet.
No, I am. It's not perfect on the fuel injection, but in third I don't like the higher revs.
I'm getting a bit more hand ache on this bike than I do on the Hornet. Might just be the angle of the throttle, I don't know, but it's holding my hand in such a way I'm getting a bit of pins and needles in my fingers.
A few of the students say that. Maybe 1 in 20 will come back and say my hand's really numb. It's fine for me.
I think it's the angle for certain people's hands, because this is holding it in such a position where I am getting a bit of pins and needles now, where the Hornet didn't do it for me.
Weird.
So I'd say riding position for distance, the Hornet's better. Ideally could do with the handlebars changing the shape of them a bit, maybe a bit in towards me.
Yeah, this is definitely easier in terms of handling.
I'm finding the 650 a bit more neutral though, where that's very light and flickable. This one just seems more grown up.
Whoops, there goes the hazard again.
There we go.
I'd like to have a combination of the two. I'd like to ride the CB650R in town, and I'd like to ride this one in the countryside but have the CB650R suspension. That would be lovely.
Yeah, riding these back to back certainly does show up the good and bad points of each one, doesn't it?
Shows them up to be very different bikes.
Wouldn't be unhappy with either of
No.
them really. They're both fantastic bikes. Yeah, look at your handlebars. That one's straighter, where this comes back a bit more, so it's doing this to my hand. So if you had to have one, generally, which one would it be?
I don't know, I don't think I've ridden this one for long enough to answer that.
Okay.
Because I thought I was going to say this one, but I'm not 100% convinced. But then that's because I ride the CB650R quite regularly. I'm used to it, and I'm comfortable with it.
But you certainly don't need the Hornet in sport mode all the time, do you?
It's fine in standard. I quite liked it in rain mode actually, how smooth it was.
I can't believe changing down these gears. It's just like there's nothing in there. It's like you're just moving a springed lever. And the slow speed around town on both of these is awesome.
Ridiculously easy, isn't it? Right, I'm going to pretend I own it now. I'm going to pretend it's my bike. I've already bought it.
This does feel heavy around corners, doesn't it?
Particularly at the higher speed.
I just noticed it took more input to get it round that left-hander then. Where the Hornet's going,
I don't notice it in town, but I do notice it on the faster bends.
Yeah, I'll go with that. At the higher speeds, this certainly needs more input. It's good that we've actually been able to get out and play on them both like this. See, it's nice to ride a bike and say how nice you think it is, but until you ride it back to back with one that's equivalent, at 6,000–7,000 revs, it really does start to buzz. Have you taken this through to Redline yet?
Only in first and second gear. When I'm trying to catch up with the students.
That's what it's worse.
This has definitely got more wind blast at this speed. It's a little bit too much for my neck. Yeah, it's a stonkingly good L plate, that.
I like how you can change down on this block changing quite a lot without it actually banging.
It doesn't ever really bang, that bike.
No.
Unless you put it into first gear a little bit too early at about 15 miles an hour, and then it will.
I think any bike will. Second gear on this isn't as easy as the Hornet.
What do you mean?
Sometimes if you don't time it absolutely spot on, it's not as smooth.
No, it's not. Sometimes second gear feels totally defunct on that bike. I go first to third quite regularly.
It feels like it's not going into second.
So that's it, we're back at Virtue Honda in Lenton Lane in Nottingham with two very dirty bikes. They've had some lovely rides. The difficulty is, which one would I buy? I think I'd want both of them. If I was a rich girl, I'd want both of them. The CB650R is a very, very smooth, I think the word we used was a refined ride, and it is. It's very easy to ride that bike smoothly. It's very easy to hold it at speed. It's easy to change gear because of the lightness of the clutch. It's easy to use the throttle for accelerating, for decelerating. Everything's so smooth. The Hornet is like a little beast. It's not as refined in the sense that you need to be more refined with how you use the controls. So you need to be smoother with the clutch, you need to be smoother with your throttle, smoother with your acceleration, but you'll get more fun out of it. You can have fun on the CB650R, but to me the Hornet is more fun. I would have the Hornet as my go out and have a bit of fun bike, and I'd have the CB650R as my I'd like to go for a relaxing ride bike. Two very, very good bikes made by Honda. I can't fault the Honda manufacturing, engineering. They're such good quality, they're such high quality. We've had the CB650R here for 2 winters now. It's done about 10,000 miles, and when it's clean, it's very clean. I.e. there's no rust, there's no external signs of bad corrosion at all, and it still rides as beautifully as it did when we first got it when it was brand new. And I would expect exactly the same from the Hornet. Spectacularly well-made bikes and such a joy to ride. Now, we are sponsored by Honda in the sense that they provide us with bikes for the training school, but if I didn't like these bikes, I would say, and I've certainly pointed out the bits that I don't like about them, but overall I can't fault them at all. So well done, Honda, you've made some really good bikes, and I love the fact that I can reach the floor on both of them. The CB650R we have lowered. It's not a standard dog bone lowering kit, it's a little link that goes into the suspension, and we have lowered it for our shorter riders, which includes me, but I think I could ride it if it wasn't lowered, similar to the Hornet, which hasn't been adjusted at all. But I'm really chuffed that I can reach the floor on both these bikes and I can ride them and enjoy them. It makes such a difference when you're a shorter rider to be able to just get on a bike and ride it. It's so frustrating when you can't test ride a number of bikes because your legs aren't long enough. So thank you, Honda. I look forward to your next bikes that you start to bring out. That's it from me. Thank you very much. See you soon. Don't forget to head over to Russ's channel, RoadcraftNottingham, where you'll find his conclusion. Maybe similar, maybe very different. Enjoy.